Yes, we've just started the recording, Leader.
Thank you. Welcome to the Cabinet tonight. Welcome to everybody listening in. Agenda item 1, apologies for absence. I believe everybody is here. Agenda item 2, declaration of interest. All members in attendance are reminded of the requirement to consider whether they have an interest in any matter on the agenda that needs to be disclosed, and if so, to declare an interest when the Cabinet reaches that item on the agenda. Agenda item 3, public participation. We have no speakers tonight. Agenda item 4, references and comments from committees. There were none. And before I move on to the forward plan, before we go into the agenda properly, I'd just like to make an announcement and certainly call in Councillor Elaine Norman and Councillor Cam Wright to say a few words as well. I think with the unprecedented challenges that COVID-19 has presented, food poverty in particular has come to the fore this week with the unsuccessful vote in Parliament, and certainly the agenda being pushed again by Marcus Rashford, that certainly children who are struggling with food poverty deserve to be looked after. And of course, whilst we have options, going hungry shouldn't be an option in this particular country. And what I'd like to certainly announce tonight is that we as a council will ensure that we look after our children who are struggling, who are on free school meals. We will continue that into the half term, and we will certainly work with the schools and our education team and look into delivering that into Christmas as well. Because like I said, COVID-19 has transcended all barriers, and we have something like just under 7,000 children who are living in food poverty in this borough, most of them in the most deprived wards. We know where they are. And so I think with that announcement, I'd like to call in Councillor Elaine Norman to say a few words, because I know she's been working on this with the director all day in the background today. Elaine, could you say a few words, please?
Thank you, Leader. Well, obviously, I was hugely disappointed with the government vote last night to refuse to extend free school meals over half term and holidays, really. As you said, Leader, we're in the midst of a pandemic, and families are facing very challenging circumstances. They're worried about their jobs, their incomes, their homes, and now, thanks to the government last night, they were having to worry that their children would go hungry over the school holidays. Leader, this government may lack compassion, but I'm very pleased to say that this council does not. And we will not see our families struggle and our children go hungry. We will provide free school meals to our children affected by food poverty over this half term. As you say, 6,802 children will be affected if we don't do this. We will also look to provide free school meals over the Christmas and New Year holiday if the government has failed to actually commit to doing so. So I'd just like to say, Leader, that I think this council has stepped up to the plate and is providing families and children with the support they need at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Norman. Councillor Rye.
Thank you, Leader. I think most people were surprised with the debate that happened in Parliament the other night, and and surprised. I think, frankly, most of us were quite disgusted because it was quite a straightforward and easy decision to take. I know that they're spending a lot of money on lots of things, but in the grand scheme of things, paying for free school meals during this time is not especially expensive for the government, at least. I think the response was a shambles from them, and it was quite heartless. I think some of the rhetoric we heard about blaming parents, which, even if it was true, does not mean that a child doesn't have to get fed, was fairly, well, it was heartless, and that's what we heard. Especially as I think over the last 6 months, we've seen people being asked to pull together, everyone to kind of play their part for everyone, and everyone has pulled together. We've seen that in our own borough, where people have gone and helped neighbours and helped and volunteered to help during the pandemic, and then suddenly we'll say, well, not right now, we're not going to bother doing that, and right now we're not going to have a collective responsibility to to feed children, especially those on free school meals. Just to be clear, there isn't any funding from the government. They haven't provided anything for this. This is a decision that we're taking as a cabinet today, and they haven't provided any money for this. So we're going to yet again have to step up and find a way to support our residents, and find a way to ensure that we can get some food and to the most vulnerable kids in our borough. So I'm more than happy to recommend this, and actually thank the leader for bringing it up today, and Councillor Norman. I think let's just find a way, and hopefully we shame the government into responding. I don't want us to have to do this at Christmas. I think hopefully they realise the error of their ways, and they decide one way or the other to have a U-turn and fund this at least by the time we hit Christmas. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Rai. Councillor Santos, did you have your hand up, sir?
No, I was. It was just an error.
Thank you. Thank you. We then move on to agenda item 5, which is the forward plan, and I ask if the forward plan is agreed as per the agenda. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
I need your hands, please. Councillor Norman. A thumbs up will do. Thank you. Thank you. If you could take those hands down. Wonderful. Agenda item 6 is the annual complaints report. Could I ask Councillor Coombe to introduce the report, please? Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. This is a report that comes each year. It deals with the corporate complaints of the council, and also the statutory returns that we have for adult social care and children's. So as far as the council was concerned, there was a performance had declined and needed improvement last year, and so it went to the change team in November 19 for a review and a redesign, and that was completed in March 2020, but we all know what happened then. So it's been deferred, and we're launching it now, and that looks at how we can better and more quickly and efficiently deal with complaints so that they actually don't get to stage 2, to the ombudsperson, so that we deal with them in-house in a much better way. So the change team have been working with the ombudsperson, on how we can improve our working, and training is going to be rolled out for over 100 staff, because ironically it's easy to do when we're all working remotely, and so hopefully this will improve our performance for next year. So we're just even looking at simple things about how we actually talk to people, how we respond. Maybe just pick up the phone and talk to people and work it out that way first. Apologise, see if there's any financial redress that needs to be made, and also take it as a learning opportunity to look at the original policies and procedures that are in place to see if they need to be changed or improved. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions? Thank you. Can I ask if the recommendations on page 11 are of the agenda are noted?
Noted.
Noted.
Councillor Rye. Thank you. Agenda item 7 is the Redbridge Planning Enforcement Prioritisation Strategy. Councillor Bain.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, this report proposes adoption of the Planning Enforcement Prioritisation Strategy. The Planning Service receives approximately 3,000 inquiries every year, and of these, only around 1,000 were breach of planning regulations. The remaining 2,000 inquiries aren't planning related, and it isn't considered expedient to take planning enforcement action. Historically, we've always sought to deal with all planning enforcement complaints equally, irrespective of their severity or impact on neighbours and the wider community. And while this requires and ensures a consistency of approach, it's led to a very high caseload among staff and a failure to maintain a consistent focus on the more complex cases. So to address this over the past 12 months, we've trialled the use of this prioritisation strategy to focus the Council's resources on those cases that warrant timely action to address breaches of planning legislation with the greatest impact on our residents and communities. So through the application of this strategy, there was a 35% reduction in the number of planning enforcement cases opened, and an increase in the number of cases taken to court. And the additional capacity saw greater support given to more priority cases. So residents deserve a robust and responsive service which addresses those issues which have the greatest impact on communities. So given the positive outcome of the trial, it's proposed that we now formally adopt the prioritisation strategy for use in planning enforcement matters. And the recommendations are set out in paragraph 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Can I ask if there's any questions, any observations? Wonderful. Can I ask if the recommendations on page 36 and 37 of the agenda are approved? That's everyone. Thank you. Agenda item 8, the Neighbourhood Community Infrastructure Levy and Space Hive. Councillor Rye.
Thank you, Leader. So this report is asking for permission to go ahead and agree a partnership with Space Hive over the next 3 years. Just for some background, Leader, we've been amongst some of the more successful councils in delivering our local community seal projects. Larger seal projects, the ones which take up the majority of the payments from developments, the community infrastructure levy, have always got a high profile. They're normally big infrastructure projects, roads, schools. But our work from the community level and the bids that come in from residents have been as small as bulb planting, water fountains, to our partnership with Trees for Cities, the defibrillators across our borough, and even the first Changing Places disabled facility in, I believe, what was North and East London at the time. That it's been really successful. We've had lots of bids. The purpose really of involving Space Hive is so that we can take advantage of this increased interest in the community infrastructure levy, the projects that we've had come across us, and to make it grow further, take it to the next stage. This will be an opportunity to be more transparent. It will allow clearer lines of decision making, but also importantly involve residents a lot more, asking people to put either money into some of the bids or to put their time into it. So there's an opportunity for people to volunteer amongst the bids that come across their area, and to give time to them as well. There's also, again, an opportunity to see what's happening. The Space Hive will put this information online, allowing residents to check what's coming in their area, but also to see if they like it and to give comments on there and see if they'd like to replicate it in other parts of the borough. Ultimately, what this will mean is that we should get bigger projects, more projects that involve more residents. The cost of this is actually a saving realistically, but it's largely negligible. It means that the officer post that we would have occupied for this role is now being paid to Space Hive, and we should get more economies of scale out of that. We will have a review mechanism in a year's time. So I recommend this to colleagues, and I hope that people will take up the opportunity to bid for money within their wards.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Are the recommendations on page 59 and 60 of the agenda approved? Thank you. That's everyone. And now we turn on to the COVID-19 emergency decisions. If I could ask the Chief Executive to come in and introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Leader. So this is the report you're all familiar with now that comes on a monthly basis, setting out decisions that have been made under urgency powers in relation to COVID-19. It sets out the decisions that have been made from the 19th of August through to the 18th of September. The decisions are set out in the appendix. There are two decisions relating to ensuring that we were able to allocate all of the discretionary business grant money that was given to the local authority. There is a decision around the location of the second test centre at Gants Hill, a decision which isn't the key decision about making sure all of our business continuity arrangements come through a single point. A decision around the arrangements for the contact tracing app locally in the borough, and a decision, the only one with a significant financial implication, is a decision to participate in the London-wide mortality management arrangements to ensure that there is sufficient mortuary capacity in London through the second wave. So I'll leave it at that, Leader.
Thank you very much. Any comments, anyone? Thank you. Are the recommendations on page 80 of the agenda noted? Thank you. That's everyone again. Agenda item 10, there are no urgent items. I think I've taken that right at the beginning. And agenda item 11, date of the next meeting is the 16th of November. And I declare this meeting closed. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Good evening.